back to the Launch Point Leader Podcast. My name's Lori.
This is Beau.
We're so excited to be back with you another week as we are digging into a letter that a listener has written into us. This month, we are all talking about leading from where you are. And as we kind of wrap up this month of content, we had a great letter that I think really showcases a little bit different side of things than what we've talked about so far, but is so important as you're looking at yourself holistically as a leader. So we'll get right into it. It says, Dear Launch Point, I have to admit I'm really lucky. My job is fun. Sure. It's a lot of work sometimes, and there are downsides like any job, but this is the best job I've ever had. My question comes from something that
is this from you, Lori?
It is. Best job, cool. Living every day.
Love it.
It does, that's the end of the letter, actually.
No, there's a downside. Finished.
We're
episode
done.
Finished. Okay.
Downsides like any job, but this is the best job I've ever had. My question comes from something that has started to create some tension lately, friendships. I know that sounds awful to say, but I think you'll understand. A group of my coworkers started hanging out a lot outside of work. Happy hours, weekend trips, the whole thing. For a while, it was incredible, but the problem is, when we're back in the office, the lines are getting a little blurred. It's getting harder to give honest feedback or stay professional when someone isn't pulling their weight because I don't want to ruin the relationships I've been building. To make matters worse, I'm hoping to move into a new leadership role soon, and I'm worried about how these friendships will change if I'm suddenly the boss. How do I stay authentic and close with the team without risking my credibility or making things awkward? Where do I draw that line? I know this might seem like a small problem to have in the grand scheme of things, but it's where I'm at. Thanks. Maturing and mindful.
Things might be blurry because of those happy hours, potentially.
You're saying maybe a little too happy
a little blurred
at those happy
because
hours?
of that. Man, people are messy, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. You've got to do life with people, work with people. People get messy, so it's not always going to be easy. It can definitely create some tension. I think you can look at this a couple of different ways. We've said it before. It sounds like the relationships wouldn't exist if the work wasn't there. So like they came to these relationships through the business itself. If you're going into a leadership role or hope to do that, that could present a challenge where you've got to make sure that your allegiance is really more to that role and to the company than it is to those people. If they're your real friends, they'll respect your role, they'll respect what you're trying to do, and they will do their very best to help you achieve that.
Yeah.
Don't act like an authoritative person when you get that role over them and hold it over them. But I think the relationship only exists because the work did first. So kind of realize that, and then they will respect you if they're your true friends. I think there's another side to look at too, is if you're having a great time with these folks outside of work and it's really enhancing your personal life, and their work inside their role isn't really impacting your future very much, and y'all are pretty much equals, you're not having to lead them. I mean, I kind of go like, do you just go, oh, that's Susie. That's the way Susie is. So don't let her lack of excellence in work bother you, even if you do your work differently and think that she should too and everybody should. How is it harming you? Does that make sense? And so I think that's a curveball a little bit, because it's like if you're all equals, what's the impact to you if they don't do the work the way that you think it should be done, if you're really great with them outside of the workplace? I think everything changes when you become the leader.
Yeah.
That changes completely because their expectations, their objectives. And so that's where the line could get blurred maybe a little bit. So
yeah,
I don't know what you think about that.
It's such a curveball. I think sometimes you
didn't see that coming,
I hear
did you?
these letters and I'm like, I know what Beau's going to say. I know what he's going to think. And then you say something like, that's just Sally. And I go, whoa.
Yeah. Well, it's like
it's totally a different level. You're
mean, it's, I have peers that do what I do, and they do not operate their business the way I operate mine. I think my way is better. They think their way is better. I think some of the things that they do don't make a lot of sense to me. And like, if it was me, I'd do it really differently. And they have those same thoughts about me.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, I can control what I can control. They're not hurting me. their business operating at that level the way they want it doesn't bother me. I would rather have the relationship with that person
Mhm.
than try to fix what I think is wrong with their business. Now, if they asked me,
Sure.
if they opened themselves up to it, I'd be happy to I've got a core group that we do that together all the time. We talk about results and systems, and we go to each other's locations and kind of dive into each other's businesses, and we trust one another, and we've
Yeah.
asked for it. But for somebody I don't have that relationship with, I professionally, I don't I value the relationship over it, over what they do in their business.
Mhm.
Now, again, you flip that, and if you're working in my organization
Mhm.
and I am your leader, there are certain standards that have to be met. There are certain expectations, and so that's why I say I think it changes
Changes.
potentially. Yeah,
Yeah, I think giving yourself permission to enjoy the situation you're in, because many people can't say that they love the people that they
yeah,
get to see in the office every day,
yep.
right? So I think, yeah, that's a great perspective to enjoy it. But I want to go into where they talk about um, getting harder to give feedback and stay professional. So maybe if it's coming to a situation where Sally is starting to affect maybe what we're trying to do together as a team before we even look at the like potential leadership perspective. I want to
Yeah.
think about if you do have a peer that you have a relationship with and their work is starting to affect maybe what you're doing and that kind of thing.
I think then it goes back to what I first said of if they're really your friend and you're really their friend, they and you give feedback in a very loving and straightforward way. So you do it with care and candor, while it might not be received well at first. If they are who you think they are and who you want them to
Mm.
be, then I believe they should process that and take what you said as valuable.
Yeah.
And they might have to work through it a little bit. But I think if that is the case and you really believe you're friends and it really is impacting your work and your life,
Mhm.
especially within the company, then I think you have to call it out. It's always better to do it one on one. It's always better to do it behind the
Mhm.
scenes. Or if you've got another friend that feels the same way, try to do it as soon as you possibly can, so that that friend knows that you're not talking about them behind their
Yeah.
backs, that you're not talking to the other people in the friend group about their lack of work or how they're impacting the team, because that's going to destroy the relationship, is going to destroy the group, period. So, if that really is the case, I'd go directly to them. And again, they might not react super positively to begin with, because I typically I typically get defensive,
Hmm.
even from my best friends who I've invited to
Right.
tell me. I want to defend first. I'm like, you don't
Yeah.
understand. This is what you just saw. It's not usually like that or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's just our natural mechanism. So don't let that discourage you. But I think if they're your true friends and you're their true friend, you got to tell each other the truth. If what they're doing is actually impacting the work that you do and the
Yeah.
life that you're leading in that company.
I completely agree. I think if you are building friendships with people at work and you start to feel the tension of, oh, this is affecting my job, but I don't want to say anything because I'm affecting the relationship, it's already affecting the relationship.
Mm,
Whether you have that conversation now and try to clear the air and figure out how to work together through that, both personally and professionally, say you just push it down in a way, it's going to start to affect
yeah.
your personal life. I don't think there's a way to ignore it and let it go away if
It
that's how you're
it'll show up
feeling.
outside the walls, right?
Absolutely. And it'll
Yeah.
start to affect like the friendship,
Yeah.
which is in theory where you started not saying anything because you didn't want to. I think it's just one of those things that will grow and build. And like, even if you don't mean to start, sometimes you change the way you interact with them. It
Yeah.
kind of builds up in your head, even if it's bigger than it currently started. So I think the sooner you can just have an honest conversation with them, like you said, is
Yep.
exactly the first step. But I want to spend the bulk of our time thinking from a leadership perspective. That's kind of where
Yeah.
we spend our time as this person is looking at taking into leadership role, potentially becoming the leader of this team that they've been on. How does that change things? Where do those boundaries come
Yeah.
in? What kind of things do you look at?
Have an honest conversation before you get to that role and say, "Hey, look, this is what I'm going for. Like, it's really important to me.
Mhm.
You're really important to me. This role that I'm going for is really important to me. I want to do a great job in this role. And it's going to require me providing oversight and leadership to you,
Yeah.
to some others. And I just want to kind of talk through what that means for us while we're in the walls of the business and how we can really make sure that we're working together and have that level of respect for one another and each other's jobs because now they're going to be different so that it doesn't impact us outside the walls of the business. So I think the earlier you can have that conversation
Mhm.
and the more honest and real you can be, the better. I think you're putting your best foot forward at that point. Then you get into that role and you actually have to start making decisions and providing accountability and those kinds of things. I think that's where it can get a little messy from
Sure.
time to time. People can get offended or get their feelings hurt, and you might do the wrong thing as the leader,
Yeah.
and you might come down too hard, or you might provide feedback that really isn't that helpful, and so it could impact the relationship. But again, if it's a great relationship, it should be one of open and honest communication and respect for the person, respect for the position. And I think if you can try to cultivate that through honest conversations, you're going to have the most opportunistic or the best opportunity for a great outcome.
Mhm.
If you wait till there's a problem, it's probably too late. Kind of like what you were saying
Yeah.
earlier. If you don't address something small, it gets a lot bigger than it
Bigger.
needs to. So I'd have that upfront conversation as I'm trying to get to that role. What does it look like? How can we best game plan for this inside the four walls so it doesn't impact us outside the four walls? Then I think the reality is it's going to.
Mm.
I'm
Yeah.
it's going to a degree. How mature emotionally the people are will dictate the level of impact it's going to have.
Mm.
You can't become somebody's boss as a friend and it not impact the
Sure.
relationship in some way. It might just impact it where you have to work through things,
Mhm.
but you're gonna have to work through some things. So I think the emotional maturity is going to dictate a lot of what happens with that friendship and relationship there.
Yeah, I love what you did there because we're back on track. I felt like I knew where you were going to
Oh,
go.
okay.
The answer to both questions of how do
Hmm.
I deal with this relationship peer to peer if I sense something is wrong, and how do I deal with this looking from the perspective of leadership, both were have a conversation, communication. And we're talking this month about self leadership and how to lead from where you are in that guidance. That is showing leadership already, is doing that, even before you're seeking a title or that kind of thing. It's those kind of thought processes and long-term thinking and wanting to care for those people and not just say, I hope it goes well.
Yeah.
Let's do it. That's showing care for your friends, like you've said. And it starts no matter where you are right in this current moment to where you hope to be, however far that promotion might be for you. It starts with communicating and having a conversation. The content's going to be different, right?
Yeah.
But I love that it both started at that foundation of, well, you're going to have a conversation
Yeah.
with them and be honest and build that trust, because for it to work and to have the proper boundary set as you're stepping into that leadership role, they have to trust that you still care about them as a person. You still can, it doesn't mean you can't ever see them outside of work
Yes.
again. It just means foundations of relationship. They have to know that I have to hold these things accountable. I have to know that when it comes to these things, I can't, for the good of the entire team, for the good of our relationship,
Yeah.
let some of these things slide or look beyond just because of our relationship. And it's a way to look and say, now I think our relationship could be better
Mm.
because of the work we're doing. Like, I've had this relationship where the dynamics have changed over time. I was leading them, then they're kind of in charge of me for certain areas. And it always is kind of this awkward, like, dance at first of like, well, how's this going to work now? But having the conversation and realizing I think it's always bettered my relationships in a way of like, okay, now we understand the dynamics in each other in a new way. And I think it's a cool thing to get to see.
Yeah. The evolution of relationships, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just part of it. I think if you can cultivate that, like you said, having that conversation, we talked in previous episodes or episodes that you've got to have a plan really for almost everything. So if you're not pre-planning for this relationship that's important to you or these friendships that are important to you as you're transitioning to a leadership role, you're already behind. So doing those things, I agree with you completely. The last thing I'll say with this, and unless you've got some other things to go off of, is we've had a great team for a lot of years, and one of, I think, the coolest things for me is that we can hang out. Now, again, you guys are a little bit younger than I am.
Not much.
Just
no,
a
just
tad.
a couple of years.
We can hang out outside of work. We can go on a retreat. We can go to dinner. We can go to an event. And I genuinely have a blast with this group. But we get back in the workplace and we all understand exactly what the objective is, what role everybody has, the respect level I hope is felt from me to the group, from the group to me, etc. Like it's just a really neat thing. So it's proof that you can have a great relationship. I mean, and I still talk to people that worked with us years ago that are now either doing what I'm doing or on that journey still. And it's like now what exists is a friendship.
Yeah.
Where what used to exist was a relationship and a mentor, mentee, boss, team member, whatever. But now it's a friendship because that relationship was managed well. So I think if you do it well, it can blossom into something that's really cool over the long run. For all parties involved. Yeah.
It's so cool. Obviously having been a part of that, which I count myself really lucky too, but also if I'm sitting here and I'm a leader listening to this and say, I want that for my team, like how do I do that? Communication, of course, but I think what really set the tone is having healthy conflict, because you talk about going out and having a great time. We're on a retreat. That's where some of the most intense conversations happen. You're like having people that strongly disagree with each other, and it's not I think you're wrong and this is bad that you're doing this. It's we're so passionate about what we do.
Yep.
We want the best. Okay, we've come to a decision. We're all behind that decision now. Let's go have a great time together. Like, it's so cool to be able to do that. And I'm passionate about helping other people see how to do that. That's a whole other month of episodes.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to retreat, we got you. So we can do that too. Yeah.
I think, it is a great idea of like, a retreat is a great way to do that with your team, just one-on-one meetings. We love to help companies do this and help leaders see that this kind of interaction and communication is possible. It's not just some dream out there.
Absolutely.
Man, that's the whole other ball game. But I want to thank Maturing and Mindful for writing this in. I think it's so important to think about these dynamics, and it's cool to see that you are already caring enough to look at these friendships and say, I value so much what I've been able to find through not only the work you're doing every day, but the people you get to do it with. What a winning combination.
Yes.
I mean, hold on to that. And I think that's something that other people out there, hopefully, I hope this is something I actually hope people a problem they can find themselves in. Sometimes I'm like,
Amen.
We've all been there, but we want to get out of it. Here, I'm like, this is a great problem. I love this for you. And so putting into step these actions, especially that communication piece, just starting and being really open and honest is such a great step for you. Thank you so much for writing in. If you or someone else out there wants to share what journey they're on, whether it's similar, something totally different, we love to have these kind of conversations and take these situations and real life scenarios and say, here are some actions you can take to work on that, to grow yourself as a leader. So visit us at launchpointleader.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Have a great day.